Imagine the dust of the arena, the roar of something ancient and enraged, one titan forged in nature's crucible, a prime silverback gorilla. Against it, a tide of humanity, 100 souls, armed with nothing but desperation, flesh and bone. Who prevails in this clash of primal fury? This isn't a battle of skill or technology. It's elemental. The crushing weight of singular power versus the desperate hope of the collective swarm. 100 average men, stripped bare of tools, facing a 400-pound engine of destruction forged over millennia of evolution. Can numbers alone overcome such concentrated might when the shield of ingenuity is cast aside? Let the blood-soaked analysis begin. Behold the challenger, the Silverback. This is no mere ape. This is a force of nature sculpted for dominance. Strength that beggars belief, capable of shattering bone with a single contemptuous strike, tearing flesh with horrifying ease. Estimates suggest its raw power eclipses that of 4, 6, even 10 strong human men combined. Imagine trying to restrain 10 bodybuilders simultaneously. Now imagine they are enraged and covered in thick muscle and hide. It is the apex predator of its domain, power incarnate. Nature's arsenal. Its weapons are fused into its very being. Massive razor-sharp canines, longer than a human thumb, designed to puncture and rend, backed by jaw muscles delivering a bite force that can crush thick bamboo or human bone. Its fists, dense knobs of bone and sinew, impact like biological sledgehammers. Its powerful arms can grapple, throw a 200-pound man like a child's toy, and tear limbs with sickening efficiency. Every part of it is honed for brutal close-quarters combat. The living fortress. Beneath thick, leathery hide lies a dense layer of muscle, wrapped tightly around a robust skeleton far thicker and stronger than our own. It's built to withstand the brutal clashes of its own kind, let alone the comparatively feeble blows of unarmed humans. Punches, kicks, against its torso or limbs, they are mere irritations, absorbed by the living shield. To inflict pain requires finding a rare weakness through a maelstrom of its own attacks, a near impossible gamble. The unstoppable charge. Do not mistake its immense bulk for slowness. Within its domain, over short distances, it moves with terrifying explosive speed. Imagine 400 pounds of muscle and fury accelerating, closing the gap faster than you can react. The sheer kinetic energy of that impact is enough to send bodies flying, break bones instantly, and obliterate any fragile human formation. It's a biological battering ram. The roar of terror. Beyond the devastating physical attributes lies the psychological warfare. The ground-shaking roar, the terrifying chest-beating display. These aren't mere sounds. They are primal signals broadcasting overwhelming power and aggression, designed by evolution to shatter courage, induce blind panic, and scatter opposition. Against 100 untrained, terrified human minds, this wave of pure intimidation could be the most potent weapon, winning the battle by dissolving the will to fight before true contact is even made. The human tide. 100 fragile sparks, and the opposition. Humanity's hope rests not in individual might, but in the crushing weight of the mass. 100 individual bodies, a living, breathing wave intended to crash against a single point of immense power. It is the sheer, undeniable, overwhelming fact of numbers. This numerical ocean, in theory, allows for strategies born of multitude, the potential to encircle, to distract, to attack from blind spots, forcing the gorilla to divide its lethal attention. And perhaps most grimly, the stark biological calculus, the capacity to absorb catastrophic loss. The gorilla cannot afford a crippling injury. The human collective, however horrifically, can endure dozens of its members being killed or maimed, and still possess the sheer bodies needed to continue the assault. A relentless bleeding tide. The spark of intellect, under siege, humanity's defining gift, the thinking, planning, strategizing mind. The potential exists for coordination, for identifying fleeting weaknesses, eyes perhaps, for adapting to the unfolding horror. But this spark flickers precariously under the shadow of mortal terror. Can 100 separate, panicked minds truly fuse into one cohesive tactical entity without leadership, training, or the crucial advantage of tools? The chasm between potential and terrified reality is vast. Endurance. The slow burn illusion. Yes, humans possess superior aerobic stamina in general, but this isn't a marathon. It's a close-quarters brawl against a creature designed for brutal bursts of power. Could the humans evade long enough to tire it? The monumental IF looms larger. Constant, frantic evasion expends vast energy. Maintaining distance from those explosive charges without weapons is a deadly dance where one misstep means obliteration. The slow burn likely consumes the humans first. Human frailty. We must acknowledge the stark biological reality. Compared to the gorilla, the human body is fragile. Bones snap easily under its force. Skin tears readily against its teeth. Our muscles offer little resistance to its grip. Without weapons, we are soft targets, easily broken. This physical disparity is a fundamental, brutal truth of the encounter. The arena opens. The first shockwave. The confrontation ignites, not with a measured advance, but with the Silverback's earth-shattering roar and inevitable charge. A blur of dark fury impacts the human line. The sound is sickening. Not just screams, but the wet crunch of bone, the thud of bodies hitting the ground with terminal force. Dust flies, blood sprays. The air fills with the stench of terror and sudden violent death. Order, if any existed, evaporates in an instant. Panic, the true enemy within. Does the human tide hold, or does it shatter? The primal fear triggered by the initial onslaught is infectious. One person screams and runs, then another, then a dozen. The sight of comrades being effortlessly crushed, thrown, torn apart. It bypasses rational thought. Fight or flight reflexes scream flight. If that collective nerve breaks, the battle devolves into a massacre. Unity is their only desperately thin shield. Against all odds, the human swarm, a deeper look. But imagine, against probability, a core resists. What does the living avalanche truly entail? It's not a neat rugby scrum. It's a chaotic, desperate surge. The front line knows they are sacrificial lambs, trying to absorb the initial lethal blows, trying to latch onto limbs despite the thrashing power that can dislocate shoulders or snap arms in its grip. They must endure the crushing weight. If the gorilla falls, the suffocating pressure, the risk of being trampled by their own incoming wave. They must grapple with arms thick as tree trunks, trying to find leverage that likely isn't there. They must face the gnashing teeth just inches away, knowing a single bite can rip out throats or crush skulls. It is martyrdom born of sheer numbers, the only weapon left. Could this nightmare succeed? The sheer physics are daunting. Pinning down hundreds of pounds of thrashing, biting muscle requires impossible coordination and grip strength. The gorilla, even partially restrained, can inflict appalling damage, breaking backs, gouging eyes, biting off fingers and ears. A win via swarm likely means dozens dead, scores permanently disabled, a field littered with broken bodies. The psychological trauma for any survivors would be immense. The odds feel astronomically slim. The fading hope. The endurance play revisited. The kiting strategy, tiring it out, feels even more futile upon closer inspection without weapons. How do you force exertion without closing in? How do you maintain distance when its charge is faster than your sprint over short distances? Who decides who becomes the next distraction? Leadership and complex coordination would be needed, luxuries utterly absent in this panicked, unarmed mob. It's a strategy for trained hunters with tools, not desperate civilians. The defining handicap. No tools, no parity. Let us underscore this critical point. The absence of weapons, even the crudest club or sharpened stone, is the single factor that makes this contest so brutally one-sided. Tools are humanity's equalizer against nature's power. They grant reach, amplify force, allow strategy to overcome brute strength. Without them, we are reduced to our fragile biological selves, confronting a creature optimized for physical destruction. The verdict, etched in agony. Consider the scenarios, stripped bare of heroic fantasy. Scenario 1, panic. The gorilla wins, utterly. A swift, terrifying demonstration of primal power shattering disorganized fear. The end comes quickly for most. Scenario 2, the sacrificial swarm. The only path, however faint, to human victory, yet the cost is almost beyond comprehension. A mountain of human bodies required to smother the Titan's fury. A victory so drenched in death and suffering, it mocks the very concept. The probability of achieving the necessary coordination and enduring the losses remains vanishingly small. Failure is the overwhelming likelihood. The unarmed truth, amplified. Without the great equalizer of tools, humanity's advantages crumble under immediate, overwhelming physical threat. Intellect drowns in adrenaline. Strategy dissolves into chaos. Coordination becomes a desperate wish. Numbers count, but against such concentrated, close-quarters destructive force, they count primarily as casualties. The gorilla's power dominates the interaction absolutely. This is not a tale of valiant underdogs finding a clever way. This is a visceral lesson in biological reality. The arena floor would run red, and the echoes would be of primate fury, not human triumph. Can you conceive of a way for the unarmed hundred to prevail? Is there a spark of strategy we've overlooked in the face of such terror? Defend humanity's chances, or accept the grim math in the comments below. And if you dare to explore more such brutal hypothetical clashes, subscribe,